Hi, this is James Gordon O'Toole here with a book review. Today's book I'll be reviewing today, The Most Dangerous Game and Other Stories. This is from Berkeley Highland, and this was first published in June 1957. This is the 7th printing from 1968. This has a collection of decent short stories. The most notable one is The Most Dangerous Game by Richard Connell. There are some other big name authors in here. Out of the 9 stories in this collection, only like 2 I actually liked. There was one that was decent. I felt it could have been a lot better, and the rest I didn't like either. I felt they didn't fit the theme of like survival adventure, or I just didn't like them. I felt this collection was way too short. Like it could use an update with like more survival type stories to make it much longer, so that way it has more to offer than the 9 that are in this collection. There might be a Anthology collection out there that actually has this story and some others, but overall this was a decent read. I decided with summer finally here, I decided to pull out some summer themed books and decided to read this one. I originally was just going to review the first story, The Most Dangerous Game, but it's a very short story, so I decided to check out the other stories. So that way there'll be more to read, because if I just did one story, it'd be like a very short video, and I felt that would just isn't my kind of thing. I want to talk about more than just one story, if possible. If I do, I know there's the one short story I want to review on the channel sometime. The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, which is another short story, but I also have the sketchbook by Washington Irving, which has his other stories. So I'd rather read that, so that way I have more to read than just one short story. Overall, this was an okay read. I felt some of the stories could have been a lot better, and if I wish there was more to offer in it. But overall, it's a decent collection. All right, onto the book review, and spoiler alert: I will give away crucial details within the stories. The Most Dangerous Game by Richard Connell. 2 big-time gang hunters, Saren Rainsford and his friend Whitty, are traveling from New York to Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. While passing through the Caribbean waters at night out on the deck of a luxury yacht, Whitty is telling Rainsford about a phantom island known as Ship Trap Island, a place that is feared by both sailors and ship captains, stating it's a death trap, whoever is foolish to go looking for it. Rainsford brushes it off just as an urban legend is looking forward to the hunting trip. He's hoping once they reach the Amazon jungle, they'll be given some good rifles for hunting jaguars. Whitty wonders if the jaguars will feel fear when they go to hunt them. Rainsford laughs at this thought. Whitty is off to get some rest, while Rainsford wants to stay out for a bit while smoking his pipe. As he relaxes in the steamer chair, trying to see this island his friend talked about, but can't see anything in the darkness. Suddenly he hears gunshots off in the distance. Rainsford gets up and tries looking over the railing, but leans too far, causing him to drop his pipe. He tries to get it, only to fall overboard, and is nearly pulled under by the yacht, spitting out the salt water as Rainsford tries calling for help, but nobody hears him as the yacht moves away, leaving him alone in darkness. He begins swimming towards where he heard the gunshots, with only the source of light from the moon. Rainsford then hears the sound of something being shot, but it doesn't sound like any animal he's heard of before. He reaches the shore of an island and finds boot prints in the sand along with a rifle shell casing. Removing most of his wet clothes, Rainsford enters the thick jungle, wondering if there's anyone on this island. He then sees a source of light and finds a large mansion with gargoyle statues. He slams the knocker on the door twice. He hears the sound of someone walking on the hard floor as the door opens with a beam of light shining through. Shielding his eyes, he then sees the tallest man he's ever met, wearing a black uniform, hunting boots, black hair with a long beard, dark eyes, and is a solid mass of muscle. Rainsford then notices in the man's right hand is a long barrel revolver aimed at his heart. He tries to explain to the man that he's fallen overboard, his name, and he's hungry. The man then holsters his gun, salutes him, along with placing his boots together. He then introduces himself as General Zaroff. Then another man appears wearing a similar outfit and is very tall. His deaf-mute servant Ivan. Zaroff is pleased to meet Rainsford in person as he's read his hunting books and invites him inside his luxurious mansion. Ivan brings Rainsford a pair of clean clothes to wear, then joins Zaroff for dinner. While eating, he sees the many animal heads placed on the wall as both men are eating, drinking wine, and smoking cigarettes. Zaroff explains to Rainsford where he and his servant Ivan came from, as they're both Cossacks from Russia. Zaroff's father was very wealthy and got him into hunting at the age of 5, as he's a very skilled shooter. He later joined the war, then left Russia to work in business. However, after hunting all the biggest and deadliest animals he can find around the world, he has become bored, stating they aren't challenging enough, so he built a mansion on the island where he hunts the most dangerous game. Curious, Rainsford wants to know what he has brought in for hunting. Zaroff replies it isn't animals he brings in, it's humans. Rainsford thinks Zaroff is joking, but his dark eyes don't lie, and adds that humans are more challenging as they put up a better fight. Rainsford is then horrified when Zaroff offers him to join a night hunt with some Spanish crew members he's captured that fallen into his trap. Sickened by this, Rainsford refuses. Zaroff believes he needs rest before doing any hunting and has him taken to his room. The next day, Zaroff tells him at lunch that his night hunt wasn't good as none of the men put up any effort and were easy to hunt. Again, he tries to convince Rainsford to join him, but refuses and wants to leave the island at once. Zaroff gives him two choices, either be hunted by him along with his pack of dogs or get whipped to death by Ivan. Rainsford accepts Zaroff's challenge, and if he can survive for 3 days, he'll let him go, but is to not tell anyone about this island. Rainsford asks Zaroff, has anyone won his game? Zaroff laughs and replies that nobody has beaten him yet, and is looking forward to hunting a skilled hunter like himself. Ivan brings him a pair of hunting clothes, food, and a hunting knife. He will be given a 3-hour head start, along with some tips on what areas to avoid on the island. The next day, Rainsford is out in the jungle while trying to keep calm, as he won't allow Zaroff to easily hunt him. He is able to hide his tracks and finds a tall tree to climb up and hide. However, it isn't long till Zaroff appears wearing his safari hunting suit while holding a small caliber pistol. Smoking a black cigarette, Zaroff stands at the tree while Rainsford does his best not to give away his position, then blows a ring of smoke and leaves. Rainsford realizes that Zaroff knew where he was and is toying with him. He waits a while before coming down and sets up a trap for Zaroff. He then hides behind a log close by and watches as Zaroff reappears, going to the same spot. He trips the wire, causing a sharp stick to ram into Zaroff's shoulder, but he laughs and tells Rainsford he'll be back after he cleans his wound. Rainsford spends the rest of the day digging a pit trap, then rests the following night. The next day, Zaroff, along with a large dog, follow Rainsford's boot prints, and the dog falls into the pit trap. Zaroff calls out he's pleased how difficult he's making this game and will return with more dogs. Knowing his chances are slim, Rainsford sets up another trap but uses his hunting knife. It isn't long until Ivan appears with all the dogs. They pick up his scent as Rainsford leads them into the trap. Ivan activates a tripwire as the knife is lunged into his chest, killing him. Zaroff appears and is chasing after him along with the dogs. Rainsford runs through the forest until he reaches a cliff, then jumps into the sea. Zaroff and dogs look down as they see nothing but water. Believing Rainsford has killed himself, Zaroff is disappointed and returns to his mansion, trying to ease himself. However, he'll have to find a replacement for Ivan, which won't be easy. After reading in his library, Zaroff plans to head off to bed, but when he flips on his light switch, he is shocked to see Rainsford waiting for him. He congratulates him for surviving the most dangerous game, but Rainsford tells him that the hunt isn't over yet and challenges him to a fight. Zaroff chuckles as the two fight against each other, with Rainsford defeating Zaroff and rests in his bed, having the best sleep he's ever had. Lion vs. the Ants by Carl Stephenson. Lion, owner of a plantation in the Brazilian rainforest, is warned by the district commissioner that an army of ants is approaching his plantation and should evacuate at once. Landian laughs at the man's warning and refuses to leave after years of building this plantation and hiring all the men. The district attorney leaves as Lanyon is the only person staying while his neighbors have fled. When he holds a meeting with his workers, they are shocked by the news but assures them that man is stronger and smarter than an army of ants. As the days go by, Lanyon notices animals are fleeing the area along with his horses getting spooked and running away. With his men becoming more uneasy, he has them dig moats around his plantation and flood it with water to keep the ants from reaching the plantation. When the ants do show up, it's a never-ending line of large, dark ants. At first, they are unable to cross the moat along with the river close by, but to Lanyon's horror, the ants build a bridge out of ants, allowing the others to cross. Lanyon and his men pump gasoline onto the ants, then light them on fire. At first, this works until they run out of gasoline, with Lanyon being forced to empty 2 fuel tanks out of his motor cars. Despite killing a large number of ants, they keep coming back, and it isn't long till the ant bridge reaches the plantation. Lamina and the others try flooding the moat, but one of his men falls into the ditch and is eaten alive by the ants. Lamina grabs his rifle and puts him out of his misery. They are able to flood the moat, but it doesn't last long, with more ants appearing and is losing more men. Lamina realizes he won't win this battle against the ants, and they're surrounding them at all sides. The only way to allow his men to escape is by opening the dam, flooding the whole area, but it will also destroy his plantation. With no choice, he creates a makeshift suit along with wearing goggles, then covers himself with the last of the gasoline and tells his men to get ready to the rafts when he opens the dam. Running through the jungle as he smacks at any ants climbing up his body. Upon reaching the dam, Lamia turns the wheel, releasing a powerful flow of water. However, the ants begin biting through his suit and nearly loses an eye. He barely survives when he's rescued by his workers as they bring him to the hospital. Lamia rests in his hospital bed despite his injuries. Alone in Shark Waters by John Cruz. Sitting in the cargo hold along with its passengers, Mike Garner is traveling on the Ben, the Sidi Chajir, a large Maldivian schooner that has left Ceylon and is going to the Maldivian Islands. He was sleeping above deck and ordered to go down by the crew members after reports of a hurricane were coming towards them. Outside, the storm is nasty with the ship riding through the rough seas. Then a strong wave causes one of the lanterns to fall off its hook, leaving everyone in darkness. Everyone screams, followed by another crash from a powerful wave that's tearing the ship apart. Lighting a match to see his way as he feels water below his feet. Knowing he has to get off the ship at once, he grabs his spear gun along with his diving mask. He tries to help a woman get out of the cargo hold, but loses her during the panic. He then tries to get on board a lifeboat, but is thrown overboard by the storm. He manages to survive the storm, and the following morning he removes all of his clothes. Mike is hoping that a crew member sent out a mayday call for planes to fly by. However, it isn't long until he sees shark fins in the water. Keeping the sharks at bay with his spear gun, but only has 1 round and will only use it if he has to. While doing his best to keep himself alive out in the cold water, more sharks appear as he keeps fighting them away. A plane does fly over, but is tired and unable to wave at it in time, along with dealing with more sharks. He wounds one as it goes away, while the others keep their distance. Mike swims away and is able to catch a fish as he eats it. Getting more tired and cold, the sharks are closing in as he fires his spear gun, killing one of them, and then is caught in a fishing net. The crew members bring him on board as he rests below deck. The Most Dangerous Game and Other Stories was a mixed bag of decent to bad short stories. While I felt the first story, The Most Dangerous Game, was the best one, but felt it could have been better, with Lamina versus the Ants was decent. Alone in the Shark Waters was alright, but felt after the first act it gets sloppy at parts and felt too short. The rest of the stories didn't fit the theme of survival adventure, or I didn't like them. Kinda wish this collection would get updated with more stories, as it's a very short book. Overall, The Most Dangerous Game and Other Stories was a decent collection that some might enjoy. However, if you're more interested in reading the first story by Richard Connell, you can find several copies of what is considered to be one of the best short stories ever written, which would go to inspire many films based on the short story or the idea of people being hunted by other people. That's the review today. Hope you enjoy. Yeah, this is just a short one. I decided to pull out an anthology as I need to do more of those. And as I said, with summer finally here, I decided to pull out some like summer themed stuff to read. this, as I said, this is a decent anthology. I would probably say the best story out of all the stories that I read is the first one, The Most Dangerous Game, which this short story, believe it or not, was first published back in January 19th, 1924 in a newspaper, and later it got published in a magazine and then in other anthologies and stuff. But the short story became one of the most popular short stories of its time, and it would go to inspire many films based either on the short story or the concept of it, which some of the best films I've seen that use the basis of the idea of the Most Dangerous Game are Turkey Shoot, the Australian sci-fi action film, John Woo's Hard Target with Claude Van Damme. That's an excellent film based on the concept of this. And another really good film is Surviving the Game with Ice-T, Rucker Howard, and Gary Busey. That's another good film that's based on this concept, and there's many others that would other films and novels and even video games that would take inspiration from the short story and you incorporate it into their works and stuff. I really like the short story, despite how short, the first story, The Most Dangerous Game, is very short. But despite that, it's very well written. The detail is excellent. The characters are well crafted. I'm really not a fan of big time gang hunting. I dislike it, but the characters were still interesting, and Zaroff is just one twisted individual that was very dark and just very cold-hearted and just enjoyed killing for the sport of it. Rainsford is just a adventurous type, and he basically winds up getting himself involved in basically a deadly game where he's now trying to avoid being hunted. While I felt the very first part of the story, I really liked the beginning part of it, where him and his friend are on that yacht and they're talking about this mysterious island, and then he gets thrown overboard, and then he swims to the island and is discovered by Zaroff, along with his silent servant Ivan. I really liked the beginning part of it. The only thing that I wish that I felt could have been better, I wish there was a little more action in it. Like, Rainsford just spends most of the time just setting up traps, basically trying to stay a step ahead of Zaroff and his deadly game. And I felt like, the trapping was clever and all, but I wish there had a little more action. I actually thought that the author, Richard Connell, could have went back and maybe fleshed out the story to make it into a flank novel, but he didn't do that. I was reading about the author. He went on to do some other short stories. Apparently he wrote like 300 short stories, and he was also a screenwriter, and he wrote several like romantic comedies and some musicals, but he hasn't done anything kind of dark like this. So yeah, so the first story is probably the best one. The other ones, Lena versus the Ants, that was a decent one. I thought it was really interesting. You got this guy that runs this plantation in Brazil, and he's warned that this army of ants is coming, and he's told to leave, but he brushes it off as thinking, an army of ants is a serious threat to me. Yeah, right. Well, when they do show up, he realizes that the threat is serious, and the one thing that gets me with South America is that their bugs are double the size that ours here in North America. Like in Canada, like a normal ant is like really small. Then you got like the carpenter ants, which are like this big, right? South American ants, they're like this big, and some of the bugs in South America, they're just huge and they're just absolutely terrifying. So when these large ants show up, he's trying his best to keep them away from his plantation, but they are more cunning and clever than he realizes, and despite everything he throws at them, it isn't enough to draw them away, and he realizes that him and his men at this plantation are no match for these ants, so they have to essentially destroy it in order to escape. So it was a decent read. And then the other story, Alone in Shark Waters, this one was okay. I felt the beginning part was really good. Like, the main character is on this like ship, and then they're caught in a storm, and he basically is the only one that gets out alive as everyone else is killed off in this storm, and then he's stranded in the middle of the ocean with these sharks. I felt the beginning part was good, but then after that it kind of got, I felt some parts were getting sloppy, and it just felt rushed at times, and I was like, okay, what is the character doing? What's happening now? So it was okay. I just felt it could have been better. The rest of the stories I didn't like. Uh, with some of them. Um, Journalism in Tennessee by Mark Twain. I actually thought this was going to be like a true story or something, and it turns out no, it's a short story, but it's a satire about a guy that writes like a very snarky review in some of it that happens in Tennessee. And it is nearly killed by some crazed general. I didn't like that one. Um, To Build a Fire by Jack London. I couldn't get into this and that one. Like some guy is out alone in the Yukon, is trying to survive in the freezing cold, and I just didn't like the way it was written. And the last three stories I didn't like. Locomotive 38, the Jabi. I didn't like this one. It's about an alien that comes to a town, and this guy helps him buy a car. It didn't really fit with the the theme of it. High Air, I had no idea what this one's supposed to be about. Like, I don't know if it's like some crude, like, paving a way for, like, rail tracks or mine or something. It talks about like, the men working this machine, and this son is having an argument with his father about why he stopped talking to his mother after 5 years. I didn't like, it just, again, didn't fit. And then The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. This is like a comedy story about a guy that keeps daydreaming while he, like, driving recklessly, and, thinks he's like some like secret agent or something. I just didn't care for it. So this, as I said, this was a decent read, a collection of short stories. I've seen several like books editions that just have the first story, but it's again it's very short. I was looking up other stories by Richard Connell to see if I can find like an anthology that would have this one with some other ones. I found a few, but not much. This guy's work's kind of hard to come by. It's a shame because this is the one story that's constantly in print, and all his other stuff isn't. Isn't. So hopefully one day I might find maybe an anthology that has this story along some other survival type of adventure stories in it. Alright, that's for the book review today. I hope you enjoyed it, and please stay tuned as I'm going to be doing a book haul video next. So after you're done watching this video, go right over to the book haul video. Alright, that's it for the review today. Hope you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to subscribe to Auteur Library and like this video channel where I post book reviews, book hauls, and artificial content. Until then, I'll catch you later.